Good morning, everybody. My name is David Soraghan. I'm from Glassdoor, and I'm here to talk about, well, the culture effect on employee satisfaction and productivity. So, yeah, should be quite interesting, I hope. And more importantly, this is not a sales pitch about Glassdoor. It's really, we want to showcase a little bit about the data, the analytics, some of the findings we have from our chief economist, Andrew Chamberlain, and how that affects a lot of our businesses today. So we'll kind of go through it, but a tiny little bit about us as a business. I mean, we were formed about 8 years ago, started in San Francisco, but the last 2 to 3 years has been a huge push. I work out of our London office in Russell Square, and we're very much focused on the EMEA side of the business. The US look after their side, but it's EMEA focused for me. So Glassdoor, it's a very simple mission. We try and help people everywhere find the jobs and the companies they love, and it's trying to bring transparency into the workplace. That is really what we stand for as a business. You can see some of the stats here. I mean, we have about 30 million unique users a month. That's growing exponentially. We have about 12 million bits of content. We're in now over 200 countries, actually. We have about just shy of 600,000 companies on board, and 50% of our traffic comes from mobile. So, I mean, that's a huge stat for us. You know, mobile, if you're not on mobile, you need to be there. So it's quite important. And the age-old adage, I mean, do satisfied employees equal more productive employees? That's something we'd like to kind of discuss today, or I'd like to discuss with everybody, and we'll go into it a little bit more detail. So, yes, investing in employees, it 100% boosts productivity, and employees are starting to realize now that the return on investment behind engaged employees, it's incredibly important. We actually ran this workplace research foundation, and we found that highly engaged employees, they're actually 33% more likely to have above average productivity. So that was pretty startling. It was a huge statistic for us, and this engagement then tends to have a ripple effect. So it really is important to invest within your employees, and we're going to talk around this, and I'm going to talk around kind of the metrics and some of the data and some of the numbers that we've began to pull from this information. So we with Glassdoor, we are a data company, and we have lots of information on employee reviews, salary reviews, and we took, I think it was about 221,000 reviews, and we delved into it deeper, and we had a little look and said, well, you know, what are the factors that are most important for overall employee satisfaction? And we found that statistically, it was very important for people to be paid well. That was always important, but it was actually a lot lower down the chain of some of the really important things like cultural issues, and we're going to go into it now. But what we actually found was a 10% increase in pay was equal to this 1 point increase in satisfaction on this 0 to 100 scale. So what I basically mean here is if an employee was on £70,000, they got an increase of 10% to 77,000. We found it only actually changed the dial by 1 point to 78 to 79. It was very, very small. And with Glassdoor, we have a scoring rating of 1 to 5. So it would barely move anything, this 10% increase in salary. So salary is not a massive driver for employees. You know, when you're looking at your business, if you really want to retain the best staff, it's important to look after them from a salary perspective, but it is not the number one driver. So what we did find was things like culture and values was incredibly important to employees. This was the number one thing that they kept pointing out over and over again to us. So this is really important. Career opportunities was incredibly important. No matter what level in the organization they were at, they want, you know, to be able to move within your organization. And senior leadership, and that's the opinion of senior leadership, mentoring, being able to go to them, that was really, really important. Then we found things like work-life balance, compensation and benefits was fourth out of this list. So pretty startling, but interesting information to have. And why does all of this matter? And I guess the culture effect is what we're going to talk about a little bit now. And we sought to explore trends and correlations between company culture and actually stock performance from public companies. So we actually in-house, we have a chap called Andrew Chamberlain. He's our own in-house chief economist. He's an incredibly good guy. Now, he's based out of the States at the moment. So he ran a report about 3 months ago. And what he did find was, and we can see it here, I mean, companies, we run a best places to work list every year. And what we found was companies that were on our best places to work list, they actually outperformed the S&P, which we all know is a US index, but they outperformed it by 122%. So that's a huge figure. I mean, 122% people who care about their employees, just produce very well. And what we did see with some of the lowest rated companies, they underperformed by nearly 30%. So that's they're interesting statistics, and I'm obviously pushing him to do stuff from a UK and EMEA perspective, and he is doing stuff early in the next year. So it'll be interesting to see what reports come from, I guess, the FTSE and things like that. So, but that was a key report as well. Then we also have things like a clear causal link. So a recent study published in the Journal of Corporate Finance shows causal link between employee satisfaction and company financial performance. So the findings were a 1 unit change in company ratings on Glassdoor's scale of 1 to 5 has about a 0.14 effect on the market value of companies. So basically what I'm trying to say is this translates to a 7.9% jump in company market value by having employee satisfaction. So it's a huge economic effect there, and we're going to share all these slides with you so you can have them as well. So, do satisfied and productive employees equal satisfied customers? And I think this is something we need to kind of look at as well. And Richard Branson, he is, a bit of a poster boy for all about employee engagement, and employees to him come first. Now, this is quite interesting. I've worked for a couple of public companies, and it was always about their shareholders. But Richard takes and a lot of companies now, it's about your employees. Employees first, then he had customers second, then shareholders third. So, it's quite startling, but I know from a Glassdoor perspective, we're all about employer branding. It's like you have to, to attain and retain the best clients, it starts with your, looking inside your businesses first. So this is really important. And we have an interesting one here. 84% of all highly engaged employees believe they can positively impact the quality of their organization's products, compared with only 31% of disengaged employees. So again, lots of stats here. I don't want to get too number heavy, but I mean, they speak for themselves. It is so worthwhile having engaged employees. And how do we kind of go about that? And increasing employee engagement, investments by 10% can increase in profits by £1,850 per person. So we can go into that a little bit more, but it's interesting. More than one way to invest. So I guess it's not all about money. It's not all about increases in salaries, etc. It's things like recognition from supervisors. This comes back to this cultural effect, and more importantly, the senior leadership, and that, being open within a business. So recognition from supervisors, employees say, is very important. Clear communication from leadership, absolutely crucial. I know in some businesses I've worked just personally in the past, communication's been terrible. It has a knock-on effect. You don't want to stay with that business, so that's key. Transparency. I mean, with Glassdoor, we are trying to bring transparency to the jobs market. That is a huge thing we pride ourselves on. Listen, we want to give employee or candidates, job seekers, a very detailed look into your business. So we want you to be as transparent as possible. Solicit feedback. I mean, a lot of companies, they don't do this. They don't always want feedback because they know we're in a bad place. We're going to go through change. That's probably the most important time to solicit feedback. And more importantly, start to listen to that feedback. I mean, it's great if you get it from employees, you ask them for employee engagement surveys. At the end of the day, you want to make sure you're actioning these surveys and saying they don't just fall on deaf ears. So these are some key points that everyone can begin to do straight away, really. What does this not tell us? 96% of job seekers say it's important to work for a company that embraces transparency. I think that's pretty obvious, that one. That's okay. And this was just a couple of stats from businesses that we looked at that had a direct correlation with really, really happy employees. Just had a knock-on effect to their customers who were being treated very well. If I'm being perfectly honest, this looks very US heavy. I might try and get a couple of UK companies in here. So this was run for us recently. So a couple of things here which are quite interesting. So I guess, ask yourself, would current employees recommend your organization to a friend? And I'd encourage you all to take a look at your Glassdoor profile. And this isn't the Glassdoor pitch, but please do have a little look, because we have a couple of key stats, and one of them is, refer a friend. And just to give you an idea, every company will have it, and it's where would your employees refer another person to work at your business. The Glassdoor average is 58%. That's across our nearly 600,000 companies. Have a look and see what you guys are at. If you're above or below that, I think it'll be interesting to see. The second one, what are your job seekers saying about you on social? And we know nowadays social is so important. So your LinkedIn's, your Twitter's, your Facebook's, make sure you're staying on top of them. If you're not engaged, it's time to get engaged with all of them, and have a look on Glassdoor. I mean, as most of you know, and maybe some of you don't, Glassdoor has a ton of reviews from your employees and former employees about what it says to work at your business or what it's like. Now, you mightn't agree with all these comments, but my strong advice always is, let's start to take more control of that profile. There's a couple of steps you can take. It doesn't cost anything. You can respond to reviews. You can ask for more employee reviews. We strongly encourage that, and at the end of the day, I'll be here to kind of help any businesses. I can give out my card, but we strongly encourage you, make sure you read those reviews, and if you don't want to respond to them, that's fine, but at least engage yourself in the conversation. And what is your company rating on Glassdoor? Okay, they probably had to put this one in. So we have a 1 to 5 rating scale, as I mentioned earlier. The Glassdoor average for overall ratings for a company is 3.2. Please have a little look at your company. I'd be intrigued to see, where everyone is. 3.2 is a good benchmark. If you're below it, so be it. If you're above it, we tend to have this best places to work list every year. It tends to be the companies closer to a 4 out of 5. It's incredibly important for some businesses to be on this list. So my strong advice would be, let's everyone strive to be on that list. Why not? And I guess kind of wrapping up really from my point, what this means, I guess. So number one, happy and satisfied employees mean happy and satisfied customers. So no matter what business you're in, it pays to have engaged, happy employees. Your employees are your brand. They are the face of your business. Take care of them, nourish them, look after them. And number 3, it pays to care. And that's it. That's it from my end. So thank you very much.